Part 12. Adorable Baby, The Miracle Doctor is So Awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 111. Speaking of this, a thin blush appeared strangely on Hibuji's face. Shenyazi originally asked casually, but seeing his reaction, his curiosity was aroused. Hibuji coughed lightly. When the direct lineage of the He family was passed down to my generation, I was the only one. In order to take away the control of the He family from my hands, the people from the side clan did everything possible. The cold poison in my body is they did it, but when they saw that I wasn't dead, they resorted to other methods. Drug, Shenyazi suddenly guessed. Hibuji paused. Yes, they gave me the drug. They couldn't deal with me, so they wanted the woman they controlled to give birth to my son so that they could control my next generation. The people around me at that time were poisoned by them. The plan to lure the tiger away from the mountain, if your master hadn't happened to pass by and help me get rid of the medicinal properties in my body, I would probably no longer be in this world. Those people had no intention of keeping him alive, and the drugs they gave him were extremely vicious. Once he touched a woman, there would be only one end: exhaustion of energy and death. Shenyazi looked at him, and another picture unexpectedly flashed through his mind. In the picture, she forcibly tied Hibuji, who was a little more immature than he is now, to a pillar, and the silver needle in her hand quickly penetrated into his body like a goddess scattering flowers, suppressing his medicinal properties. Wait a minute, Hibuji said that the person who saved him was the medical demon. Why does she have such a memory? Is it difficult to do? Is he originally a demon healer? Isn't she the one who can cure demons? What exactly is going on? Shenyazi felt that his head was aching again. No, she must find out the origin of the original person, otherwise she will always be troubled by these memories. Hibuji saw that she looked unhappy and couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong with you? Are you feeling uncomfortable?" Shenyazi shook his head. I just suddenly remembered something. You said you want to see my master? But I don't know where she is now. She usually comes to me. Why don't I let you know when she appears? Okay, if your master shows up then, just send me a message. I don't know if he was disappointed too many times, but Hibuji didn't show much discouragement. He Yang suddenly walked in a hurry and handed him a letter. After Hibuji looked at it, a sharp light flashed in his eyes, and he said slowly, "It seems that I have been away for too long, so that they have forgotten the rules I set." Shenyazi had a guess: something happened at home. Hibuji didn't hide anything. Well, I have to go back as soon as possible. Shenyazi stood up and said, "Wait a moment." She came out after a while, carrying a bulging bundle in her hand, handed it to He Yang, and said to Hibuji, "We are friends too, and we should have done a good job for you, but since you want to leave as soon as possible, I guess there is no time, so I prepared some food and some pills for you." Hibuji raised his lips and smiled, "Thank you very much." The food and pills she made by hand are rarer things in his heart than gold treasures. This time he got such a big package at once, so he was naturally very happy. "Come, baby, say goodbye to Uncle Hibuji and Uncle He Yang, and welcome them to come again next time." Shenyazi took Qingbao and walked Hibuji to the door, holding his little fleshy paw and waving at the two of them. Qingbao repeated Shenyazi's words in a sweet voice, and his cute little appearance made the two grown men Hibuji and He Yang tremble in their hearts. Hibuji knelt down in front of Qingbao and hugged him. "Goodbye Qingbao, Uncle will definitely come again." He took out an exquisite silver bell bracelet from his arms and put it on his wrist. "Qingbao's birthday is coming soon, but Uncle can't come to celebrate you then, so I will give this birthday gift in advance you." Qingbao shook his little hand, but the bell did not ring. Hibuji touched his head and said with a smile, "This bell will only ring when you encounter a bad person, so King Bao must be careful when the bell rings in the future." He also told Shen Yi, "This bracelet is called Jiangzai. Once someone with evil intentions or someone with evil intentions approaches, the bell will react. Shen Yizi didn't expect that he was so thoughtful that he even found out about Qingbao's birthday. He Yang also gave Qingbao a wooden figure that he carved with his own hands. It was carved exactly like Qingbao, and it was exquisite, lifelike, and lifelike. Qingbao liked it so much that he would not let go of it. Be careful along the way. After the two left, Shen Yizi's life did not change much. He still took his children to practice and see doctors every day, and lived a peaceful and leisurely life. Remembering what he had asked Wang Kantang to build earlier, Shen Yizi went to the city. After seeing the real thing, she couldn't help but sigh. What Wang Kantang built not only perfectly reproduced her requirements, but also did it better than what she asked for. The clock is all golden and purple, elegant and luxurious, but also full of interest. The whole clock is composed of upper, middle, and lower layers. After the bell is wound, accompanied by the music, the upper umbrella cover rotates and the unicorn shakes its head left and right. At the same time, the middle-level roller blind rose, and the fairy monkey walked out of the arch, leaned forward and knelt down, stretched his hands forward and opened the fairy peach, revealing the dial inside. At the same time, the little monkey next to him also moved his arms up and down to make a peach gesture, which was very interesting. Qingbao sat beside the table and reached out to grab the little monkey on the clock. In the box next to it, there were 3 equally exquisite and elegant watches, one for each of her, Qingbao and Gu Switting. Shen Yizi picked up the small one. The time on it had been adjusted and it showed 9:15. She was very excited when she finally learned the accurate time again. She checked the 3 watches, and they were all fine. It was rare that Wang Qiantang had memorized and thoroughly understood the time theory she had mentioned before, otherwise these clocks would never have been made. As everyone knows, in the process of understanding this time theory, Wang Kantang lost a lot of hair. I'm almost stunned. Uncle Wang, you once again impressed me. Shen Yizi gave Wang Kantang a thumbs up. Wang Kantang was not complacent, and shook his head calmly, speaking of which, I would also like to thank you. This time in the process of making the clock, I faintly touched the power of the law of time, and through this I had an epiphany and a state of mind. There has been a big improvement. Had he not been bound by the laws of heaven in this world, he might have advanced. Congratulations then. Shen Yizi took out another pot of wine and said, how did you drink the pear blossom wine last time? This time I brought you peach blossom wine. As soon as he saw the wine, Wang Kantang's originally calm face was immediately filled with excitement. He opened it and smelled it, and said intoxicatedly, the fragrance penetrates the brain, and the aftertaste is long. It is really a good wine. Shen Yizi continued to take out the bamboo basket. These are some braised dishes I made myself, braised pork, braised chicken wings, braised dried tofu, braised peanuts, etc. They are just right for drinking. Okay, I won't be polite to you anymore. Wang Kantang said loudly, his voice full of joy. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 112. By the way, Uncle Wang, I want to get Qingbao a big colored glaze ball. Look, here is the blueprint. The glaze ball should be transparent and flawless. It should be hollow inside. Build a rockery inside and put some fake fish. Son, fill it with water. Shen Yizi explained to him the structure of the glass ball, and Wang Kantang listened and asked a few questions from time to time. Well, this thing can be done, it only takes a few days. Well, I'll come and get it then. By the way, Uncle Wang, Qingbao's birthday will be in 3 days. If you are free then, come and have a meal with Xiao Bin. Okay, I will definitely go there then. Li Yuliqiu, you don't have to make a trip, I will just take him there. Okay. Shen Yizi took Qingbao away and bought some things for Qingbao's birthday party before heading back home. For this birthday party, she plans to use a buffet style, placing the food on a long table for guests to help themselves. Although there are still 3 days, she has to prepare in advance. Not to mention anything else, just a big birthday cake would take her nearly a day. Fortunately, she had enough manpower on her side. Ganu, Kunsan, Li Chuntao, and Han Beiluo shared a lot of work, which made her feel a lot more relaxed. The imperial capital, Prince Chen's mansion. Gu Suiting rode his horse Binghe out of the city gate early in the morning and headed for the outskirts of Beijing. Binghe is a rare divine horse. He is as fast as the wind and as fast as thunder. He can reach several miles away in a short time. The puppet bird is parked in a courtyard on the outskirts of Beijing, where there is a special place for taking off. After all, the puppet bird is too huge. If it takes off openly in the imperial capital, it will definitely attract attention. Moreover, the entire imperial capital has set up formations to prohibit flying in the sky. Sitting on the horse, Gu Suiting suddenly sensed an extreme danger approaching at a certain moment. That was an arrow shot from nowhere. What's surprising is that after the arrow was shot, it suddenly turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already on Gu Suiting's chest. It was as if the space had been broken directly, and the speed was so fast that people were caught off guard. When the arrow broke through the outermost layer of clothing, Gu Suiting's hand was like lightning and he held the arrow tightly. However, the strength bonus brought by the extreme speed made the arrow unstoppable, spinning rapidly in his palm, drilling into his heart like an electric drill. Gu Suiting's actions could only delay the fierce offensive slightly, but he couldn't avoid it at all. With a boom, Gu Suiting was sent flying by the arrow and hit hard against a big tree on the side of the road. He held the arrow in his hand, and bright red blood flowed from his palm. At the same time, there was blood flowing down from the corner of his mouth. He leaned against the tree trunk, motionless, as if he was dead. A group of men in black robes with evil ghost masks suddenly appeared, holding crescent knives in their hands, surrounding him in a fan shape, and slowly approached. Seeing that he was motionless and breathless, he seemed to be dead. The man in the middle stepped forward and lifted his chin with a knife to confirm whether he was really dead. At this moment, Gu Suiting suddenly opened his eyes. It was like an abyss opening, like the night sky pressing down, like a great terror coming. The man in black robe was frightened and wanted to retreat, but unfortunately it was too late. Gu Suiting suddenly pulled out the arrow that almost pierced his heart and threw it out. The arrow instantly penetrated the body of the man in black robe in front of him. However, after passing through, it did not stop. Instead, it was like a black meteor, tracing a semicircular trajectory in mid-air. Passed through the bodies of those black-robed men and took away their vitality. Gu Suiting stood up and raised his hand to catch the arrow, but was cut off by a man in blood-robed clothes who suddenly appeared. The face of the man in blood robe also wears an evil ghost mask, but it is the same color as the robe, as red as blood, as if blood will flow down at any time. I knew you weren't that easy to kill. The voice of the man in blood came out from behind the mask. It sounded a little distorted, and it was impossible to distinguish between male and female. He took a step closer and said leisurely, "Your Highness, King Chen, do you know how much your life is worth?" Gu Suiting asked calmly, "How much?" 300 spirit stones. If it weren't for the sake of these 300 spirit stones, I wouldn't want to do this kind of thing. Why don't you choose to commit suicide? If I do it, you may be in pain. Without even moving an eyebrow, Gu Suiting took out a porcelain bottle from his sleeve, poured out a pill and swallowed it. Feeling the gentle yet powerful medicinal power dissolving in his body, he inevitably thought of Shenyazi. At this time, she should be preparing for Qingbao's birthday, right? Chuckled lightly, "There are so many nonsense words, are you afraid?" The man in blood robe was silent for a while. "Since you are so eager to die, then I will help you." Asterisk. Baby, today is your birthday, we have to dress up handsomely and dazzle others. Shen Yizi took out the clothes that he had prepared for Qingbao and put them on for him. It was already mid-June and the weather was getting hot, so the clothes she prepared for him were cooler. The upper body is an ice blue gown, sleeveless, with two chubby little lotus-like arms exposed. Shen Yizi was greedy, so he grabbed it and took several sips. Underneath is a pair of fluffy red bell-bottom pants, and sandals carefully woven with bamboo silk on her feet, revealing her round and cute little feet. Qingbao turned around twice in front of the mirror and grinned. Shen Yizi was amused by his small appearance. "Let's go, little birthday girl, let's go down and eat longevity noodles." Shen Yizi served the longevity noodles made for Qingbao to the table. He is now more proficient with chopsticks and can pick up the noodles by himself and eat them without her having to cut them off for him like before. A large bowl of longevity noodles with a plump poached egg on top. Qingbao ate it all, and even drank the noodle soup. After eating, I patted my bulging belly with satisfaction. She slid down from the chair and said, "Mom, I'm going to play." "Well, go ahead. Be careful." Shen Yizi watched him running outside happily, feeling a sense of melancholy and bitterness in his heart. One day, her little cubs will grow up completely and break away from her. So now she has to cherish the time when he has not grown up even more. The banquet was held in the open space outside the courtyard. The ground is very flat, with soft grass on both sides and flowers and trees occasionally planted on the grass. This season is when gardenias are in full bloom. The white and tender gardenias are hidden among the green branches and leaves, exuding a fragrant fragrance. Long tables covered with tablecloths are placed in an orderly manner on the grass. Cooked dishes and snacks are placed on the tables one after another, and more of them are fresh and sweet fruits. Watermelon, melon, grapes, lychee, etc., cut into pieces and placed on the plate, as well as ice bowls of various flavors. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 113. Under the table, Shen Yizi placed many ice basins, exuding a cool breath anytime and anywhere, dispelling the heat around him. Shen Yizi also lit insect-repellent incense around the place to ensure that no insects would cause trouble. "Sisters Yizi, I have strung these fluorescent stones together," Li Chuntao informed Shen Yizi. "Okay, leave it alone and I'll do it." Fluorescent stone is a kind of stone that can emit light at night. She bought a lot of it before, cut and polished the stones into the shape of small stars and moons, and then gave them to Li Chuntao to string them together. Now that it is strung together, it can be hung on the tree. When night falls, it will be particularly beautiful with thousands of fluorescent stones lighting around it. As the time for the banquet approaches, the invited guests arrive one after another. Shen Yizi invited many people, including Master Chang Feng, Wang Kantang, Qin Bin, Han Beiluo, Su Guangbei and other people who were familiar with him or had close contacts with him, as well as villagers. She has invited every family in the village, but because of the previous monster incident, some families are still in mourning and may not come. As for Ganwu and Kun San, they are our own people and there is no need to invite them at all. At a rough calculation, it is estimated that there are more than 100 people. Shen Yizi prepared the food according to the number of 200 people. Anyway, even if there is too much food, he is not afraid of wasting it. He can let the villagers take it back, or he can eat it directly for Yi Chang, a big eater. Fearing that something might happen, Shen Yizi asked Yi Chang to watch Qingbao and never leave. As for Xiao Frog and Xiao Xian, he ordered one of them to patrol around the village and the other to guard the banquet. In short, she would never allow anyone to ruin her darling's third birthday party. In this era, people generally only celebrate 2 birthdays, One is a birthday, a woman is 15 years old, with hairpins, and a man is 20 years old, with a weak crown. The rest of the birthdays are generally not very grand. It can be said that the third birthday party that Shen Yizi hosted for Qingbao shocked everyone who came to the party. Chang Feng and others sent their congratulatory gifts one after another. Shen Yizi did not refuse and asked Kun San to keep them. Don't be polite, everyone, you can take whatever you want to eat. This kind of buffet style can be said to be very suitable for Master Chang Feng. He immediately smiled and said, Donor Shen, don't worry, I will not be polite to you. Having set his sights on the target, he immediately picked up the plate and kept putting things in it. Have a piece of roasted whole lamb. Roast duck, 2 slices. Pan-fried dumplings, here are 3. Small cake, here you go. Fruit cannot be spared either. Seeing that Chang Feng, a monk, was so bold and unrestrained, the others were no longer restrained and started eating on their plates. While eating, 3 or 5 people gathered together to chat, and the atmosphere was very harmonious and joyful. This is what Shen Yizi wants. Gan Wu had to work hard as a waiter. Whenever there was not enough food, he had to serve it quickly. Whenever you run out of wine, fill it up quickly. Of course, during the break, he would also grab some food to fill his stomach. As night fell, Shen Yizi lit a bonfire in a specially reserved open space, put a prepared calf directly on it, and roasted it. The bonfire made the atmosphere more lively and lively. The happiest people are the children brought here by their parents. Countless delicacies were available for them to choose from, and they were full from the food. As a birthday boy, Qingbao ran around with a group of children, like a little lunatic. The whole place was filled with the laughter of children. When Qingbao ran over again with a group of friends, Shen Yizi grabbed him and wiped his face, which was stained like a little cat. Then he let him go, but he was still worried. The ground warned, slow down, don't fall. Qingbao responded loudly, I know, mother. He ran away without looking back. Shen Yizi looked at his little figure, shook his head and smiled helplessly. Li Chuntao came over with a plate of food, leaned close to her and asked in a low voice, Sisters Hizi, isn't my brother-in-law coming? Shen Yizi forked a piece of watermelon and ate it, come on, but I might have been delayed on the way. Gu Swiding was not one to break promises. She had promised that she would definitely come to celebrate Qingbao's birthday. But she hadn't come yet. She thought something must have delayed her. Hearing this, Li Chuntao didn't ask any more questions and continued to challenge the delicacies. That little cake is so delicious, she wants to eat 2 more, no, 3 more. Although Sisters Hizi said that eating too much of this will make you gain weight. But no matter what, just be fat. People in the countryside don't care about that. Being fat still seems like a blessing. Shen Yizi looked at the time, it was already 8 o'clock. For people of this era, 8 o'clock is already very late and it's time to go to bed. Some people have already begun to yawn. However, Gu Swiding hasn't come yet. Forget it, don't wait any longer, it's important to eat the cake. Shen Yizi asked Gan Wu to move the big round table out of the main room, took out the 3-layer cake that had been made from the kitchen, and placed it on the table. The cake is creamy and fruity. The bottom layer is 1 meter in diameter. It can be said to be really big. On the top layer, she made a small version of Qingbao, and she was going to eat it later. In the center are the edible candles she finally experimented with, 3 in total, representing Qingbao's age. As soon as the cake appeared, everyone was amazed and gathered around. Shen Yizi picked up Qingbao and said to everyone, today is Qingbao's 3rd birthday. Thank you everyone for coming to support me. This is a birthday cake on the table. I learned to make it from a foreign biography. The biographer said that people in their country eat cakes on their birthdays. The number of candles on the cake represents the age of the person celebrating the birthday, such as Qingbao. He is 3 years old today, so there are 3 candles on it. The author also said that blowing out the candles on the cake and making a wish on your birthday will be very effective. I don't know if it works, but celebrating a birthday is all about being happy. Li Chuntao was very excited when she heard this, and looked at Qingbao with envy. He took the lead in applauding, and everyone else followed suit. Shen Yizi thanked him profusely. After everyone's applause subsided, she placed Qingbao on the table and said, "Baby, come on, blow out these 3 candles." Afraid that he would not understand, she gave another demonstration. Under the gaze of everyone, Qingbao tried his best to puff up his cheeks and blew out the 3 candles with a pop. As for the spittle accidentally sprayed out during the blowing process, just ignore it. Shen Yizi took the lead in applauding, "The baby is so great, it was blown out in one go. Make a wish quickly." She had taught him how to make a wish before. Qingbao closed his eyes, clenched his small fists and put them on his chest. That appearance was so cute that she instantly captured the hearts of everyone present, young and old. After all, cuteness is invincible. Who doesn't like cute things? Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 114. I want daddy. Shen Yizi raised his forehead. How could the little guy express his wish? After finishing speaking, Qingbao opened his eyes and suddenly called out, "Daddy." Shen Yizi glanced over subconsciously. Who was the man walking through the stars, if not Goose Whitting? What a coincidence that he came. "Daddy," Qingbao yelled again and rushed over, not realizing that this was not flat ground but a table. Shen Yizi suddenly raised his head, and just when Qingbao was about to step out of the edge of the table, Goose Whitting seemed to teleport directly across the crowd and came to him, catching him. However, when Qingbao was in his arms, she became shy and buried herself in his arms, refusing to raise her head. Suddenly aroused a burst of good-natured laughter from everyone. Goose Whitting didn't force himself. He covered the back of his head with his big palm and held his buttocks with one arm before coming to Shen Yizi. Everyone made way for him. "Okay baby, come and cut the cake with mother." Shen Yizi wanted to dig Qingbao out of Goose Whitting's arms, but he didn't let him go. "What should we do? As soon as he comes, he will her little baby away from her." Shen Yizi didn't bother with him. He took out the knife for cutting the cake. Each of them took out a hand, wrapped Qingbao's little hand in it, slowly cut the cake, divided it into pieces, and handed them to everyone. Everyone was very satisfied with the meal. Even if some people don't like desserts, they are still impressed by the sweet and soft taste. Some adults are reluctant to eat it, but leave it to their children. In the end, the whole cake was eaten by everyone present. There was another fuss, and the time quietly came to 9 o'clock, and the banquet broke up. Shen Yizi cut the roast beef into pieces and wrapped them in oil paper as a return gift to everyone. Everyone returned home exhausted. In the end, only Shen Yizi's family and Ganwu and Kunsan were left in the open space. Oh, and the little milk dog Wang Wang. It was chewing a piece of cow bone that Shen Yizi threw to it under the table with relish. Qianwu said, "Sir, you go in first, Kunsan and I will take care of it here." Shen Yizi was about to say that he would stay and help, but Goose Whitting had already turned around and entered the house with Qingbao in his arms. She had no choice but to follow in. After entering the room, Goose Whitting suddenly groaned and swayed, unable to even stand still. Shen Yizi was startled and rushed forward to help him. "What's wrong with you?" His fingers covering his mouth were covered with dazzling blood. Qingbao was a little frightened. "Dad." Goose Whitting shook his head at him. "Dad is fine." Shen Yizi was really convinced by him. He even vomited blood and was still fine. "Hurry up and put Qingbao down, lie down and stretch out your hands, let me take a look." Goose Whitting was pinned down on the bed by her. Seeing her frowning in worry for him, She couldn't help but smile. Shenyazi checked his pulse and found that his injury was not as serious as usual. His internal organs were severely damaged, but he was still in the mood to laugh. If it weren't for the fact that he was injured now, she would have punched him hard in the chest. Shenyazi took out the porcelain bottle, poured out a guyuandan and stuffed it into his mouth. Guyuandan has a powerful healing and warming effect. Taking this medicine will at least ensure that he will no longer vomit blood. Soon, Shenyazi went directly to take off Gu Switting's clothes. Gu Switting held her hand and said, "Why are you so anxious? Qingbao is still here." Shenyazi's mouth twitched and he glared at him angrily. "What are you thinking about?" "I want to apply medicine to your wound." Gu Switting blinked innocently. "I wasn't thinking about anything, it was probably what he was thinking. I mean, my wounds are a bit scary, so I don't want Qingbao to see them, so as not to scare him." Shenyazi. Well, she must have thought wrongly. But what he said made sense, so he coaxed Qingbao, "Baby, the brothers, sisters, uncles, and aunts who came today have prepared gifts for you. Don't you want to see what they gave you? Go find Sister Kun-san. Let her take you to open the gifts, okay?" Qingbao was unwilling to leave and held on to Gu Switting's hand. "Forget it, it's just a wound. Qingbao is a boy, so it's okay to see some blood." Shenyazi finally had no choice but to compromise. She slowly took off Gu Switting's shirt. Even though she was prepared, she was still a little frightened when she looked at the black wounds crisscrossing his body with blood. If these wounds were on someone else, she could still remain calm, but when they appeared on him, she couldn't stay calm. After enduring it again and again, mist still appeared in my eyes. Gu Switting put his big palm on her cheek and wiped the end of her eyes with his thumb. "Don't cry, Qingbao, and I will feel sad." Shenyazi burst into tears and smiled. "You are still talking nonsense to me at this time." Gu Switting expressed his innocence, and what he said was true. Taking his hand off, Shenyazi said fiercely, "Lie down well and don't move around." She took out a strong version of the hemostatic ointment and applied it little by little on his wound, her movements extremely gentle, as if she was afraid of hurting him. Qingbao lay on the side and shouted to his father hard, "Fly away in pain." Gu Switting's heart softened like a marshmallow due to the mother and son's actions, and she couldn't stop the smile on her lips. After applying the medicine and bandaging, Shenyazi told Qingbao, "Help mother watch your father carefully. Don't allow him to come down or move around. Mother is going to make medicine for him." Qingbao instantly felt that he had been given a powerful mission and nodded heavily. "I will take a good look at Daddy." Looking at his serious look, Gu Switting felt warm in his heart and the smile in his eyes deepened. But it earned Shenyazi a glare. After Shenyazi left, Qingbao climbed onto the bed and knelt down beside him like a cute little puppy. "Dad, who hurt you? Qingbao will avenge you." Gu Switting never expected that Qingbao would say such a thing. He raised his hand to touch his head, but before he could put it down, he grabbed him and pushed him back. "Dad, mother said you are not allowed to move. You have to be obedient." Gu Switting smiled warmly. "Okay, Daddy, be obedient." If those people in the imperial capital saw that His Royal Highness, King Chen, who has always been cold and unkind, was actually eaten to death by a little milk baby, they would not be able to stare out their eyes. "Dad, you haven't told me who the bad guy is yet." Qingbao clenched his little fist. "His were fierce and his were fierce." Gu Switting said, "The bad guys have been eliminated by Daddy, so the baby doesn't have to worry anymore." "Really?" "Of course, why would Dad lie to you?" Qingbao's curled brows relaxed and he nodded solemnly. "Well, that's good. If Dad encounters a bad guy next time, be sure to tell Qingbao. I'll help Dad beat him." Okay. Gu Switting had never felt that his life was so complete as at this moment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 115. However, When he thought about how he had missed Qingbao's growth for so many days, he felt a huge sense of loss and regret. The last time I came here, Qingbao didn't speak as smoothly as he does now. It has only been more than a month, and he can speak fluently. Father and son were chatting together, as if they had endless things to say. When Shen Yizi came up, he saw Qingbao leaning on Gu Switting's shoulder, their heads touching each other, intimate. Looking at the two increasingly similar faces, she paused and walked over. Here, drink the medicine. Gu Switting took the medicine bowl and drank the bitter and dark concoction in one gulp without frowning. Qingbao immediately held up the sweet candied fruit and said, "Daddy, eat it." The bitterness of the decoction is nothing to Gu Switting, but when faced with Qingbao's thoughtful and sensible concern, how could he refuse? Opened his mouth and ate the candied fruit that he fed to his mouth. Very sweet, not bitter at all. Qingbao said, "Mom made it, it's delicious. Dad will have another piece." Gu Switting will not refuse anyone who comes. Shen Yizi watched from the side with deep resentment. This son was raised in vain and he forgot about his mother when he had a father. "Okay, it's getting late, let's not disturb your father's rest here." Shen Yizi made a move to take Qingbao away. But the little guy hugged Gu Switting's neck and refused to let go. "Mom, why don't we sleep with Daddy?" Sanwa's brother said that his parents sleep together. The corners of Shen Yizi's mouth twitched. The three children had conveyed some unhealthy thoughts to this boy. But looking at his bright and expectant eyes, she didn't know how to explain her relationship with Gu Switting. He simply winked at Gu Switting and asked him to take care of Qingbao. Unexpectedly, instead of explaining, he even pretended to be aggrieved to Qingbao. "Your mother no longer wants Daddy, and she doesn't even want to sleep with Daddy." Qingbao immediately looked at Shen Yizi reproachfully. As soon as this kid turned 3 years old, it was as if he had opened up the Ren and Du channels, and his growth rate was astonishing. Not only did he lose his voice, but he also seemed to suddenly understand a lot of things. Shen Yizi finally surrendered under the offensive looks from the father and son. "Let's sleep together if we want to sleep together. Anyway, there is Qingbao in the middle, so what is she afraid of?" Shen Yizi took Qingbao to wash herself with the fragrance and put on her pajamas. This time, she was wearing long-sleeved and long trousers pajamas, and her face and part of her neck were exposed. Looking back at this, Xueting dared to say that she was exposed. Shen Yizi placed Qingbao in the middle and lay it outside so that it would be easier to get up. This was the first time Qingbao slept with his parents. He was so excited that he rolled back and forth between the two of them. Shen Yizi patted his and said, "Sleep. Otherwise there will be no pudding for tomorrow." Qingbao immediately became honest upon hearing this. He hugged Gu Switting's arm and closed his eyes obediently. In the darkness, Gu Switting turned his head and looked at the mother and son sleeping beside him, feeling as if they were dreaming and unreal. However, the delicate fragrance on Shen Yizi's body and the milky fragrance on Qingbao's body told him that all this was true. He closed his eyes contentedly, with a smile still on his lips. When Gu Switting woke up the next day, he felt his arm being pressed. At first he thought it was Qingbao, but when he opened his eyes, what came into view was Shen Yizi's tender profile. His heart skipped a beat and he subconsciously held his breath for fear of waking her up. However, half a while later, she was still sleeping soundly in his arms, and her breath was filled with the delicate fragrance of her hair. He looked at her carefully and lustfully. She suddenly moved and pouted her lips, which was so cute that it touched her heart. He couldn't help but lean forward and kissed her on the cheek. The touch was so soft and tender that his lips were sucked into hers. He couldn't help but rolled down and kissed the lips that he had longed for a long time. Qingbao woke up from the end of the bed. He got up and looked around. Where are the parents? Didn't he sleep between his parents? Turning around, he found that his parents were still there, but they were not on the same side as him, and his original feeling of grievance flew away immediately. But, Dad, what is he doing? Dad, why do you want to eat from my mother's mouth? As soon as these words came out, Goose Whitting froze in shock. Just as he was about to leave quickly, Shen Yizi opened his eyes at this moment, looking at him with a pair of misty eyes. With their eyes facing each other, Goose Whitting's heart beat like a drum, as if it was about to jump out of his chest. Shen Yizi blinked, finally realizing the situation at the moment, and pushed Goose Whitting away. Qingbao crawled over and stared at Shen Yizi's mouth. Her face felt hot and she forcefully explained, "Your dad, he is grabbing my candy, yes, he is grabbing my candy." Shen Yizi praised his wit. To prove that what she said was true, she also took out a box of candies, peeled off the candy wrapper and stuffed one into Qingbao's mouth to prevent any earth-shattering words from popping out of his little mouth. "I also want." Goose Whitting didn't think it was a big deal and actually came over to her to beg for candy. Shen Yizi glanced at him sideways. "How old are you, and you still compete with Qingbao for candy?" Goose Whitting lowered his eyes with a sad expression. "When I was a child, I rarely had the opportunity to eat sweets." With just this sentence, Shen Yizi suddenly felt distressed. He peeled off a piece of candy and fed it to him. Then he gave the candy jar in his hand directly to him. "These are all for you, eat slowly." At this moment, the sweet taste on the tip of your tongue seemed to spread to your heart. Looking at him with his warm eyes that seemed to be real, Shen Yizi felt that his whole body was burning and he hurriedly got out of bed. "I'm going to prepare breakfast. You can help Qingbao get dressed." Goose Whitting's eyes followed her figure as she almost fled, and the curvature of her lips deepened. "A cup of almond and goat milk per person, drink it, it's good for your health." In the dining room, Shen Yizi placed a glass of milk each in front of Goose Whitting and Qingbao. Goose Whitting looked at the in front of him and felt a little at a loss. He has stopped drinking milk for many years. Now that he and Qingbao drink milk together, he always feels like she is treating him like a child, and the tips of his ears can't help but feel hot. Qingbao has developed the habit of drinking milk. He took a big gulp after picking it up, leaving a milk stain around his mouth, like a white beard. Looking so cute. Shen Yizi saw that Goose Whitting hadn't moved yet, so he couldn't help but use Qingbao as an example for him. "Look, Qingbao has already drank." Under the gaze of the two women, Goose Whitting slowly picked up the cup and took a sip. "The taste is surprisingly good. The rejection in my heart disappeared instantly, so I drank it all in one gulp." When he put down the cup, there was a milk stain around his mouth, but he didn't notice it yet. Shen Yizi saw it and burst into laughter. "Why is this man so cute?" Qingbao clapped his hands and said, "Daddy has a white beard too." Shen Yizi tapped him lightly and said, "Aren't you the one yourself? Don't laugh at your father." As he said this, he couldn't stop the smile in his eyes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 116. Goose Whitting calmly took out the handkerchief and wiped it, but it was still a little dirty. Shen Yizi couldn't stand it anymore. "I'll do it." Took the veil and came close to him, and wiped it carefully for him. "Okay, let's eat." This time Ganwu and Kun San refused to come to the table and eat with them. Shen Yizi saw that they all seemed a little afraid of Goose Whitting, so he did not force himself and divided the food for them to eat alone. The two of them quickly slipped down with it. Shen Yizi teased Goose Whitting, "They seem to be afraid of you. Are you usually very strict with them?" Goose Whitting gave Qingbao a small steamed bun, and then another for her, and then said, "How could it be? I never punish them corporally, and the monthly salary I pay them is the highest among my colleagues." Jian Wu, who was hiding in the yard to eat, heard this and his expression suddenly became very exciting. "Master, Don't you feel a pang in your conscience when you say this? However, Shen Yizi believed it. After breakfast, Shen Yizi carried the medicine box to the hospital as usual. Before leaving, he specifically told Gu Swiding to take good care of his injuries at home and asked Qingbao to supervise him. In front of the hospital. Sister Chuntao, I've delivered the firewood. Li Qingyun walked in carrying a large load of firewood. Li Chuntao went out and said, okay, help me put it in the woodshed. Have you eaten? Have eaten. What did you eat? Li Qingyun was speechless for a moment, and Li Chuntao immediately noticed the clue. Why did you lie to me when you obviously didn't eat it? Here, take it. Li Chuntao gave him an egg she had saved in the morning. Li Qingyun looked at the eggs in his hand and showed a silly smile. Idiot, why are you laughing? Hurry up and eat the eggs. Li Qingyun peeled off the egg and stuffed the whole egg into his mouth. He ended up getting choked up, and he kept beating his chest. Li Chuntao hurriedly poured a cup of tea over and said, quick, drink some water. Li Qingyun finally swallowed the egg after drinking it. You said you could choke on eggs, aren't you stupid? Li Chuntao said in anger and wonder. Li Qingyun didn't refute, just looked at her and smiled, which made Li Chuntao feel a little embarrassed. Okay, let's go quickly. Shen Yizi, who had just arrived at the medical clinic, had a panoramic view of the scene between the two of them. She touched her chin, and it seemed that the two of them had seen each other unknowingly. We are in a hazy and ambiguous stage right now. She might as well be a matchmaker and give them a push. Thinking of this, Shen Yizi stopped Li Qingyun and said, Yunzi, thank you for sending firewood to our hospital these days. It's because I didn't think carefully and didn't take these chores into consideration. Li Qingyun hurriedly waved his hand and said, Sister Yiji, you have helped our family so much, just sending some firewood, it is nothing. If you need me for anything else, just let me know. Shen Yizi nodded, I have something to trouble you now. I just don't know if you are willing to do it. I do, Li Qingyun said immediately. Shen Yizi smiled and said, why did you agree so quickly before I even said what it was? What if I ask you to do something dangerous? Li Qingyun said seriously, Sister Yizi, you saved my life, and if it weren't for your help these days, our family might have collapsed. Even if you asked me to go up mountains of swords and seas of fire, I wouldn't be afraid. Your courage is commendable, but why do I want you to go up mountains of swords and seas of fire? It's like this. Recently, the number of patients coming to the hospital has gradually increased, and there have been more chores. Chuntao can't handle it alone, so I'm thinking of recruiting more people. A male guy comes in, do you want to do it? Shen Yizi looked at him with a smile. Li Qingyun was stunned, and his eyes were a little hot at the same time. How can Sister Yiji ask him to help? It was obvious that he was trying another way to help him. Many people in the village envy Li Chuntao for being able to work in a medical clinic. Food and accommodation are included, it's close to home, and you get 1 tael of silver a month. In the past, many people wanted to put their daughters into the medical clinic, such as Li Yinhua from Mrs. Wang's family and De Ya from the Zhang family, but Sister Yizi did not agree, but now she gave him the job. Seeing that he had been stunned and silent, Li Chuntao became anxious and touched him with his hand. This fool, Sister Yizi has given him the opportunity, and he doesn't know what to do next. Why is he still hesitating? Li Qingyun came back to her senses and said, Sister Yizi, I am willing. Shen Yizi nodded, okay, when will you be free? Just today. Okay, from today on, you will be an employee of our Shen's medical center, young man, do your best. Shen Yizi patted him on the shoulder. Li Qingyun nodded vigorously. After she entered, Li Chuntao, who was still there, couldn't help but grabbed Li Qingyun's hand and jumped up excitedly. Great, we can work together from now on. Li Qingyun looked at her bright smiling face and couldn't help but laugh too. When she realized that she was still holding his hand, Li Chuntao suddenly let go and glared at him uncomfortably. "Stop being stupid and come with me." Li Chuntao brought the man into the hospital and assigned him work. Li Qingyun responded happily. On the other side, Han Bailuo came back from the medicine garden with a basket of medicine on his back, and met two men who looked like government officials walking towards them. The leader was holding a portrait in his hand. When he saw her, the officer holding the portrait lit up. He didn't expect to see such an outstanding beauty in this rural place. He immediately stepped forward and asked in a gentle voice, "Girl, have you seen the people up there?" Han Bailuo glanced at the portrait and his eyebrows jumped. The person in the portrait was fat and had a sallow complexion. Who was she if she wasn't before? Now she has not only lost weight, her figure has become slim and slim, her skin is also white, tender and smooth, and she is completely different from before. It's no wonder that neither of them recognized her when they were face to face. Why are these two people looking for her? No one in the entire Han family cared about her stay or leave, but at this moment, he actually came to see her after working as an official. Could it be that Zhao Menjiu wanted to break off the engagement but couldn't find anyone, so he came to her in a big way? Thinking of this, Han Bailuo's eyes flashed with sarcasm. Thinking about it now, when she chased Zhao Menjiu and stalked him, it was actually more out of unwillingness and she wanted to use him to escape from the Han mansion. And now that she has done it herself, she still cares about him, Zhao Menjiu. Even if he doesn't break off the engagement, she will break off too. Don't he like Han Baoken? Then she will help them. Scumbag men and bitches, if they happen to be a couple, don't harm others. Seeing that she was staring at the portrait without saying a word for a long time, the official asked again, but he was not impatient at all. Men are always extra patient when it comes to beauties. This is a treatment that Han Bailuo has never enjoyed before. When those people saw her in the past, they would avoid her, with disgust on their faces, as if she were an insect crawling out of a smelly ditch. Han Bailuo smiled and said, "No. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome." Author, 955. Chapter 117. The official was dazzled by her smile. When he came to his senses, the person in front of him was no longer there. Stepping into the hospital, Han Bailuo's heart, which had been clouded by the portrait, suddenly became brighter. While handling the collected medicinal materials, she asked Shen Yizi, "Sisters Hizi, do you know about the Kunfang Club?" "Kunfang Hui, I've heard of it, what's the matter?" The original owner had lived in Jiazhuang for 3 years before, so he naturally heard about the annual Kunfang fair in Langcheng. The Kunfang meeting is a large-scale flower and plant exchange meeting initiated by the city lord. It is also a blind date event. At the meeting, it was not only the flowers and plants that were competing for beauty, but also a group of young men and women dressed in costumes. For those unmarried men and women, the Kunfang Club gives them a chance to shine. Attendees need to bring a flower or plant they cultivated by themselves and show it to others to watch. The city lord will also come and release purple cloud butterflies. The purple cloud butterfly is a spiritual butterfly that is sensitive to exotic flowers and grasses. If someone's flowers and plants can attract the purple cloud butterfly to stop, then the owner of that pot of flowers and plants can enter the private treasury of the city lord's mansion and select a treasure. It's just that the purple cloud butterfly is very picky and has not picked out any potted flowers for 3 consecutive years. Han Bailuo smiled sweetly and said, "Sisters Hizi, Han Baoken has made a lot of preparations for this year's beauty party. But I don't want her to be in the limelight. Can you help me? Didn't you say before that the best is the best? Is revenge meant to reach a height beyond the reach of your enemies and make them envious and jealous?" Shen Yizi came over and pinched her cheeks, which were still relatively round after losing weight. "You can climb up the pole." Han Bailuo chuckled, it's not because Sisters Hizzy is nice to me that I can be so unscrupulous. These words struck a chord with Shenyazi. Okay, how do you want me to help you? I want to outshine all the beauties, and compare the carefully prepared Hanbaokan to the dust. Hanbaologo spoke word by word, his big eyes seemed to be filled with a layer of fire. You are ambitious. You are worthy of being taught by me. I helped you with this. What Shenyazi admires most is this kind of temperament that will fight to the end if he doesn't accept it. Hanbaologo was so excited that he hugged her and jumped up and down. Just like a child. Shenyazi was also left to her own devices. Sisters Hizzy, thank you. After barely calming down, Hanbaologo let go of her and then made an unexpected move. She actually kissed her. Feeling the warm touch on his cheek, Shenyazi couldn't help but laugh. Unexpectedly, when he looked up, he saw Gu Swiding standing at the door holding Qingbao. An inexplicable feeling of guilt came over me. It was just a kiss from a girl. What did she feel guilty about? Thinking about this, Shenyazi felt righteous again, and even talked about Gu Swiding in turn. Didn't I tell you to rest at home and recuperate? Why did you come out? You are still holding Qingbao. This kid is very heavy. Put him down quickly to prevent the wound from opening again. Gu Swiding said coolly, if I didn't come, how would I know that you were having a heated fight with someone else? When speaking of others, the piercing gaze passed over Hanbaologo's face like a blade, making her shrink her neck in fright and run away immediately. Hearing his sinister tone, Shenyazi's face became a little strange. Gu Swiding, are you jealous? Gu Swiding was silent for a moment and denied firmly, how could it be? I'm not so indiscriminate. If another man had done this, he would have broken that man's neck long ago. How could he be allowed to remain an eyesore in front of him? If you were a woman, it would be difficult to do this. You can only feel sulky in your heart. Shenyazi is also funny, but it is undeniable that a hint of sweetness spreads in his heart because of his stingy behavior. Hand reached out and squeezed his hand, go back and prepare some delicious food for you, okay? The tone is the same as when coaxing Qingbao. Gu Swiding's originally cold and solemn face suddenly melted away, okay. Hanbaologo ate a meal of dog food in silence, secretly thinking that he must keep a distance from Sisters Hizzy in front of this master in the future, otherwise he would look at her with a look, and her small body could not bear it now. At noon, Shenyazi specially made Gu Swiding's favorite fried chicken and boiled fish. He looks cool and light, but in fact he has a strong taste and likes spicy dishes very much. But I can't eat spicy food very well. Every time it is so spicy, my face becomes red and my lips are bright. Made her heart itch. Seeing her staring at his lips, Gu Swiding felt a little numb on his lips. He didn't know whether it was from the heat or from her gaze. Would you like to have a taste? He leaned over and licked his lips lustfully. Shenyazi suddenly opened his eyes wide. I didn't expect you to be like this, Gu Swiding. Could it be that the previous indifference was caused by people coming from a recessed place? She didn't know that when facing the one she loves, no matter how pure her heart is, she can't keep her heart as calm as water. Qingbao is still watching, be more serious. Shenyazi coughed lightly and pushed him away. Gu Swiding let out a pleasant and low chuckle, which made her regret that she should have pounced on him and executed him on the spot. Shenyazi ate in a hurry, said I'm going to the hospital and walked out quickly. Gu Swiding, however, continued to enjoy the delicious food in a good mood, picking up dishes for Qingbao from time to time. As for the interaction between his parents, Qingbao was not in the mood the whole time because he was always fighting with the food in the bowl. The rice grains dipped in soup stuck to his plump cheeks. He stretched out his tongue and licked it around, but he didn't touch it. He simply reached out and pinched the rice grains and put them into his mouth. Not a grain of rice is wasted. Gu Swiding looked at it, feeling both amused and a little distressed. Those aristocratic children in the imperial capital have always been arrogant and extravagant. Not to mention the grains of rice sticking to their faces, even the delicacies placed on the table are wasted. His Qingbao had no idea what kind of hard life he lived when he was a child, and he actually developed such a frugal temperament. Gu Swiding felt even more pity in his heart, and stretched out his hand to scratch Qingbao's face. Qingbao looked at him doubtfully, his big eyes clearly saying, "What's wrong?" "The baby is eating seriously." Gu Swiding smiled and said, "It's okay, baby, keep eating. Hand a big chicken leg for him." In the evening, Gu Swiding took Qingbao to take Shen Yizi home. King Bao held his father's left hand and his mother's right hand, jumping around in the middle, and even held their hands to swing on the swing. He was very happy. Shen Yizi and Gu Swiding also left him alone. After dinner, the sky is not completely dark yet, and the red clouds roll over the sky, which is poetic and picturesque. Gu Swiding suggested, "Shall we go out for a walk?" "Okay." Qingbao put his small bag on his back and rushed out first. "Run slower," Shen Yizi followed, and Gu Swiding followed behind the two girls with their hands behind their backs. Looking at the scene of the two chasing and playing, I felt peaceful and happy inside. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 118. Unconsciously, the sky has turned completely dark, but today the moon is very round and bright, illuminating the ground clearly, and the visibility is not low at all. Neither Shen Yizi nor Gu Swiding said anything back, they just walked side by side slowly. She suddenly remembered something, took a quick step and turned to Gu Swiding, walking backwards. "My appearance has recovered, do you want to see it?" Although her tone was pretending to be calm, only she knew the expectations and tension in her heart. There was a blocking stone in front of her, and Gu Swiding stretched out his hand to pull her. The two of them stopped because of this and did not go any further. Gu Swiding reached out and gently stroked her cheek. "I want to." Just this one word made Shen Yizi's whole heart ripple. Look away slightly to avoid his burning gaze, and reach out to tear off the disguise mask on the right side of his face. Gu Swiding was a little helpless. "Why are you so rude?" "I'll do it." Shen Yizi. He carefully and gently took off the mask little by little, for fear of hurting her. During the movement, the two of them were very close, so close that they could feel the heat in his breath. Shen Yizi listened to his own heartbeat, and felt that his whole body was being burned by his breath. The whole person felt like falling into clouds and mist, or like being burned by fire. As the mask is removed bit by bit, her face is revealed bit by bit. The moment her face was fully revealed, the whole world seemed to have lost its color. She alone was bright and bright, like an epiphyllum blooming in the dark night, pure and enchanting. Gu Swiding held her face and remained silent for a long time. Shen Yizi blinked, and the clear aura in his eyes spread to his heart like waves, nourishing his heart and making his longing grow wildly. Gu Swiding closed his eyes, put his forehead against hers, and called her tenderly, "Zhizi." Shen Yizi's heartstrings trembled, and for a moment everything was silent except for the sound of his heartbeat. "Dad, Mother, there is a boat there, and the baby wants to take the boat." Qingbao ran over, hugged their legs, and looked at the two of them with his head raised. The crisp sound of milk woke them up from the sticky atmosphere just now. Shen Yizi subconsciously took a step back and flipped a strand of hair beside his ear. "Where is the boat?" Qingbao immediately grabbed her hand and led her forward. Gu Swiding stepped forward and picked up the little guy, letting him sit on his shoulders. "Qingbao, come and lead the way for me, okay?" This was the first time Qingbao sat on someone's neck. However, the child was not afraid at all. He only felt extremely excited. He couldn't help kicking his two fat legs, grabbing Gu Swiding's ears, and completely regarded him as a human being. Horse-like. "Daddy, run." Gu Swiding supported his body with her backhand and started running, causing Qingbao to scream. Shen Yizi followed behind, looking at the father and son playing wildly, shaking his head and laughing. Under Qingbao's instructions, the two came to a piece of water. Sure enough, there was an awning boat docked on the shore, swinging leisurely on the water waves. Isn't this Tianzhou Lake? They actually came here. Tianzhou Lake is 7 or 8 miles away from the village. There was no one on the awning boat, and there was no one around. It was probably a nearby family that had parked here. They don't want to do anything tampering. But Qingbao didn't care about this. After being put down by Goose Whitting, he couldn't wait to run over and jump directly from the shore to the boat, causing the awning boat to sway. Not only was he not afraid, he was also giggling happily. This guy is getting more and more confused. Mom and Dad, come quickly, Qingbao waved to the two of them. Shen Yizi and Goose Whitting looked at each other, and he smiled and said, "Go up and leave a rent to the boatman when you come back." After boarding the boat, Shen Yizi almost lost his footing. Goose Whitting hugged her to his side and said, "Hold me." He untied the rope tied to the shore, picked up the bamboo pennant on the bow of the boat, and pushed it to the shore. Under the reaction force, the boat swung out. Shen Yizi looked at the soft waves in front of him and asked Goose Whitting, "Do you know why this lake is called Tianzhou Lake?" "Why?" Shen Yizi lay down with his hands folded behind his head. "It is said that a long time ago, a huge ship fell from the sky and made a huge pit on the ground. Over time, the huge pit was filled with water, and then it became a lake." She didn't believe much in this legend. Tianzhou Lake is several hectares in size and has vast mist. Who can build such a big boat? But at this moment, it's okay to treat it as a joke. "How true do you think this legend is?" she asked Goose Whitting. He did not answer directly, but said, "Seeing is believing. This is disbelief. There is a large lotus growing in the lake. The green leaves and the fragrance of the flowers are intoxicating." The awning boat passed leisurely among the fragrant flowers and leaves, and the flowers and leaves brushed by from time to time. Qingbao lay on the side of the boat, reached for it, pulled off a lotus in full bloom, and handed it to Shen Yizi's arms. "Mother, hua hua." Shen Yizi was amused and helpless about his ruthless behavior. But he couldn't refuse his kindness to send flowers to himself. "Thank you, baby, I like hua hua very much." Goose Whitting was jealous. "Qingbao, why are you only sending it to your mother? Where is your father?" Qingbao looked at his father's aggrieved look and felt that he couldn't be too partial, so he picked one and gave it to him. Shen Yizi's eyes flickered, and a bad idea suddenly came to his mind. "Baby, help your daddy put the flowers on his head." Qingbao immediately followed the instructions, climbed on top of Goose Whitting, and poked the flower on his head as hard as he could. Goose Whitting looked at Shen Yizi, who was smiling evilly, pinched her face and said, "Try to tease me as much as you can." However, he did not stop Qingbao's actions. Instead, he bowed his head and cooperated. When he finally put the flowers on, his originally meticulous bun was also messed up by Qingbao. Coupled with a bright pink lotus as big as the top of the head, no matter how you look at it, it makes people laugh. Shen Yizi couldn't bear it anymore, turned around and leaned on the side of the ship, laughing until his stomach twitched. Qingbao looked confused. He looked at his father and then at her. He really didn't understand what was so funny. But his mother smiled so happily that he laughed too. Goose Whitting looked at the silly couple, held his forehead and sighed. However, the raised corners of his mouth revealed his true mood at the moment. Having laughed enough, Shen Yizi wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and tried to suppress the smile at the corners of his mouth. However, when he saw Goose Whitting's appearance, his eyes still turned into crescent moons. Goose Whitting threw away the pennant, grabbed her and held her in his arms, pinched her face and pretended to be fierce and said, "You are still laughing, huh? Believe it or not, I will take you dash." "What are you doing to me?" Shen Yizi hooked his neck and breathed softly into his ear. Goose Whitting's hand on her waist suddenly tightened, and he gritted his teeth, "Don't do whatever you want just because Qingbao is here, otherwise, you will suffer a lot when the time comes." These words really mean a lot. Shen Yizi didn't dare to tease him anymore. He withdrew from his arms, touched his face and coaxed him, "Okay, don't be angry. Look, the gift I prepared for you." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 119. Shen Yizi took out an exquisite small wooden box, opened it, and presented it in front of him. There is a men's watch prominently placed inside. It was exactly what she asked Uncle Wang to build last time. Now I finally have the opportunity to give it to him. Under her twinkling eyes, Gu Swiding held back the throbbing in her heart and took out her watch. "What is this?" Shen Yizi helped him put on the watch and educated him. "This is a watch, used to tell time. Look, there are 12 time scales on the dial dash." When the watch was being made, Shen Yizi was afraid that Uncle Wang would not be able to understand Roman numerals, so he simply used Zi Zhou Yin Mao instead. 23 o'clock Zi hour. 1 o'clock Zhou hour. The following Yin, Mao, Chen, Si, Wu, Wei, Shen, Yu, Su and Hai correspond in order. Noon hour is also 11 o'clock, so on the dial, Zi hour and noon hour are in the same place, but one is inside and the other is outside to distinguish them. The longest hand represents seconds. 1 second is roughly the time it takes to count a number. Every time it moves, it represents the passage of 1 second. The middle and short hand is the minute hand, and 1 minute is 60 seconds. It just moving around means a minute has passed. Gu Swiding was smart and understood quickly. Then if the second hand goes around once, does it mean that 1 minute has passed? That's right. When the minute hand goes through one circle, it means that 1 hour has passed, and the shortest hour hand will move to the next grid. There are 2 hours in an hour, so there are 2 grids between Zi hour and Zhou hour. Now I understand yet. Gu Swiding glanced at the watch and reported the current time. Is it now 45 minutes and 20 seconds? While he was speaking, the second hand moved a few more steps. Well, yes, that's it. How can you be so smart? Shen Yizi rubbed his face. Gu Swiding received her unabashed praise, and his heart was filled with joy. With a smile in his eyes, he whispered in her ear, "The teacher taught me well." He deliberately spoke in a lowered voice, which made her legs weak. Shen Yizi's face suddenly became hot. Seeing her blushing face, Gu Swiding's heart was about to move, and he couldn't help but lower his head and wanted to kiss her. It might as well be that at this moment the lotus on the head fell off in a disgraceful way and rolled down between the two of them. Shen Yizi couldn't hold it back and smiled. With this smile, the charm just now was wiped away in an instant. Gu Swiding pinched her waist rather resentfully. This time it was even more remarkable. Shen Yizi's laughter point was all along his waist. He pinched her so hard that she couldn't stop laughing. Gu Swiding looked at the man who was laughing and lying in his arms. His eyes were helpless and doting. Qingbao next to him suddenly screamed in fear. The two parents who were having fun quickly exited their world and rushed to his side. "What's wrong, baby?" They didn't need Qingbao to answer, they also saw it. A fish actually bit his finger and refused to let go, so he fished it out of the water. Originally, Qingbao was lying on the side of the boat playing in the water, but unexpectedly he was bitten by a fish. Not counting the bite, he was so frightened that he took his hand back. The fish didn't let go, and seemed to have bitten him. Shen Yizi was startled at first, but when he saw it was just a black carp, he was speechless. This carp is really stupid. He probably mistook Qingbao's fat white fingers for fat worms. But even though they are out of the water, they still don't let go. They are really persistent. Goose Whitting carefully took off the carp. Qingbao looked at the carp with a bit of fear. Shen Yizi suddenly felt distressed and called his little hand, "Baby, don't be afraid. Mother will stew it right now to soothe your injured little heart, okay?" Qingbao covered his chest and said, "Well, the baby needs comfort." Goose Whitting was really amused by this pair of living treasures, mother and son. Shen Yizi took out pots and pans out of thin air in front of Goose Whitting. Goose Whitting was slightly stunned. Storage bag. Shen Yizi did not deny it, so let him think so. Shen Yizi was cooking fish at the bow of the boat, while Goose Whitting and Qingbao were playing in the water at the stern of the boat. While killing the fish, Shen Yizi found a small boat in the belly of the fish, no bigger than the belly of his thumb. If she hadn't been sharp-eyed, she wouldn't have thrown it away with the fish's entrails. The boat seemed to be made of iron, covered with rust and black. Yu Chang, who was coiled around Qingbao's wrist, was practicing with his eyes closed when he suddenly felt an unusual aura. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw Shen Yizi holding a sacred weapon in his hand. "Don't throw it away." Seeing that she seemed to be throwing away the things, he hurriedly stopped her. "What's wrong?" Yi Chang crawled over and sniffed the boat. "Yes, this is really an artifact. It is still a growth artifact. Unfortunately, too much time has passed and it is almost useless now. But it is lucky to meet you. Quickly, feed it a drop of spiritual spring." Shen Yizi condensed a drop of spiritual spring from his fingertips and landed on the boat. It's a pity that this drop of spiritual spring did not cause any earth-shattering changes in the boat. Yi Chang said, "It seems that one drop is not enough. Can you try feeding a few more drops? This is a magical weapon after all. It has been useless for so many years and it still won't recover for a while. By the way, in addition to Ling Quan, you can also use Zijin. Come and try it. I have detected that this artifact has a powerful skill assimilation, which grows by swallowing various rare materials during the assimilation process. There is a certain chance that the characteristics of those materials can be inherited." "So awesome," Shen Yizi took out a piece of purple gold ore and placed the boat on it. "But I didn't see any movement from it." The master and the pet looked at each other, and Yi Chang's eyes were full of doubts. "I shouldn't be wrong. What's going on?" Shen Yizi, on the other hand, was thoughtful. "Didn't you just say that it has been dead for a long time? It probably hasn't recovered its vitality yet, and it can't even be transformed. It's like a person who has been hungry for a long time, and it's useless if you give him delicacies. I can't digest it, so I might as well have a bowl of porridge and side dishes." "That's right, but it may be because the ore still contains a lot of impurities. Look at the pure spiritual spring, it is absorbed directly. Then why not try it with this piece of purple gold essence?" Shen Yizi took out the purple gold essence that Qingbao had picked up. The moment she took it out, she clearly felt the excitement of the boat in her hand. As if he wanted to fly up and pounce on him immediately. Shen Yizi felt something in his heart. It was indeed a divine weapon. Even though he was in such a state of decline, there was still a trace of spiritual consciousness left. She waved the purple gold essence in front of the boat. "Do you want it? If you want it, accept me as your master." The boat suddenly became indifferent, and all the excitement subsided. Like a dead thing. Shen Yizi's eyes flickered and he flicked it. "You're teasing you, why can't you stand being teased so much?" She sent the purple gold spirit to the boat. At first it didn't move, wary of whether this was a trick on her part, but then it couldn't stand it any longer. At this moment, this piece of purple gold essence is to it what a table of Manchu and Han banquet is to a hungry prisoner. The temptation is not that great. In the end, it couldn't resist the temptation and assimilated the purple gold essence. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 120. The goose egg-sized purple gold essence turned into a pool of flowing crystal purple liquid, covering the whole body of the boat and blending into it. The whole process is gorgeous. It can be said to be an extremely elegant way of eating, not as rough as Yu Chang and Xian Rentong. The boat that has assimilated a piece of purple gold essence has grown in size, and the rust on the surface has also disappeared, replaced by a layer of smooth and luxurious crystal purple. Extremely beautiful, like an exquisite work of art. Shen Yizi looked at it, with an undetectable arc at the corner of his mouth. No one has ever been able to eat her for free. If you eat hers, you will have to give it back sooner or later. Yi Chang obviously knew her nature well and couldn't help but cast a self-seeking look at the unaware boat. Shen Yizi's communication with Xiaozhou and Yu Chang here was all through spiritual consciousness, so Gu Suiting, who was playing with Qingbao at the stern of the boat, was not aware of it. She greeted Qingbao, "Baby, come on, let's play with it." She gave Qingbao the brand new boat. The owner of this boat was probably chosen from the beginning by Qingbao, the darling of heaven, so he drove the carp into the trap. Since this is the case, then she will fulfill it. Since Qingbao is her son, isn't it her mother who belongs to her son? The fish soup was almost ready. Shen Yizi brought the soup over and the family of three sat around the small table and had a late-night snack. When I returned, it was already dark and the moon was hanging in the sky, as bright as a wash. Qingbao had fallen asleep. Gu Suiting held him in his arms, and Shen Yizi supported his head tilted to one side. Ganu was still guarding the door. When he saw them coming back, he was about to open his mouth, but was stopped by Gu Suiting's glance. Noticing Qingbao sleeping soundly in his arms, he quickly lowered his voice, "Master, you are back. Well, you've worked hard, go to sleep." Hearing the master's praise for his hard work, Ganwu was almost moved to tears. Sure enough, in front of Miss Shen and the young master, the master is the most humane, and he can even say such compassionate words to his subordinates. After Qianwu stepped down, Gu Suiting carried Qingbao all the way into the small building, reached the second floor, and gently placed Qingbao on the bed. His little face is flushed with sleep, so cute. Gu Suiting stretched out his hand and scratched it, looking at him with extremely gentle eyes. Shen Yizi leaned against the door frame and watched the scene with a smile on his lips. Gu Suiting straightened up and walked towards her. At this moment, a puppet bird flew over and landed on the window sill, calling pitifully outside the green screen window. Now that it's summer, there are a lot of bugs, so Shen Yizi put a layer of green gauze on the window to keep out the bugs. Now the messenger bird is also blocked out. Gu Suiting walked over and opened the window a crack. The puppet bird took advantage of the gap and flew in, spitting out the wax pills in his belly into his palm. After reading the letter, his whole body felt chilly. Shen Yizi knew that there must be something written in the letter that made him feel unhappy. She didn't ask what was written in the letter. She walked over and gave him a piece of ice cream. She made the ice cream herself. She had made it in her previous life and she still remembered how to make it. In fact, the method is very simple. Take a certain amount of eggs, beat them in a bowl, and separate the egg whites and egg yolks. Then slowly pour the flour into the egg whites and mix the two well with a homemade egg beater. Pour the boiled milk into the mixture and beat it well with a whisk as well. Place the batter into balls, put them into a constant burning cauldron, set the freezing mode, and freeze them for half an hour before eating. In addition to the original flavor, she also makes strawberry, watermelon, grape, vanilla, matcha and other flavors. Put it all in the freezer, which is equivalent to a refrigerator, so you can eat it as you go. Because the ingredients for making ice cream all come from space, the taste is extremely mellow. When you put it in your mouth, it is cool and refreshing, making you feel the heat all over your body. It's not her fault, she feels that the Häagen-Dazs and other things in her previous life are completely incomparable to what she did. Qingbao loves to eat this and wishes he could eat it, but Shen Yizi is afraid that it will damage his stomach or teeth, so he is not allowed to eat more. He is only allowed to eat 2 pills a day at most. Now that Gu Swiding is feeling a little down, she has to use this to coax him. How is the taste? Gu Swiding sat down next to her, hugged her, and rested his chin on her shoulder. I want more. The tone is childish. Shen Yizi fed him another matcha-flavored pill. I ate a strawberry-flavored one. Is this red one delicious? Of course, strawberry is my favorite. The next moment, his lips covered her and tasted her favorite. Well, it really tastes great, he pointedly said. There was a bang in Shen Yizi's head, as if a firework had exploded. This person, it's like he secretly signed up for a love talk training class. He speaks seductive words as soon as he opens his mouth. Zhizi, would you like to return to the imperial capital with me? Gu Swiding held her in his arms and stroked her hair. Although he had no hope, he still asked. Shen Yizi stiffened and asked instead, can you answer a few questions for me? Well, you asked. Do you have a wife? Gu Swiding almost laughed out of anger at her. He raised her face with his fingers and pinched her punitively. How could you have such a ridiculous idea? If I had a wife, how could I provoke you? Zhizi, I am dating you on the premise that I want to marry you. Shen Yizi's sudden confession made his heart tremble. Okay, it's my fault, I'm wrong, you can punish me. Gu Swiding really bit her on the face and grinned at his teeth. I won't let you go so easily next time. Shen Yizi looked at him with wet eyes and continued to ask, then are you ready to accept Qingbao? Gu Swiding narrowed his eyes and said, I know, Qingbao has already called me dad, so he can only recognize me as his dad. This sudden domineering declaration made her lips curl up. Hold him and rub against his chest, murmuring, why are you so nice? Is this good? He just felt that it was not enough. I am willing to go back with you. Before Gu Swiding had time to be happy, she came to a turning point, but not now. Qingbao is still too young now, and her own accumulated strength is not enough, at least not to the point where she can face all difficulties and setbacks without fear. The situation in the imperial capital must be thousands of times more complicated than this simple Jiazhuang. It is a complex whirlpool, and the slightest carelessness may break her body into pieces. Therefore, she is not ready to go there yet. Even if Gu Swiding is with you. She expected that his identity was not simple. If she wanted to get together with him, she would face a lot of challenges. She herself was fine, but what if those people attacked Qingbao?